Hi guys, today we're going to be talking about what your task is for your Year 10 assessment. So you by now have already read A Midsummer Night's Dream and you have or are about to watch 10 Things I Hate About You. The task and what you're supposed to do is write an analytical essay that compares a concept and how it is shown or represented across two different texts. So you haven't done this before, so it's slightly more complex than just writing a normal analytical essay. So I just wanted to talk to you about what it is that you're actually going to do. So you do get a choice here, okay? And if you look at your task sheet, you're going to answer one of the following questions. So pick the one that you understand the most, the one that you can find good examples of. Because essentially you're going to be writing one paragraph on A Midsummer Night's Dream and how the concept is represented, and then you'll write another paragraph on 10 Things I Hate About You and how that exact same concept is represented in there. So your analytical essay is going to examine the concept across both the play and the film. So you need to come up with a perspective. So from the concepts that you can choose, you could talk about how is love represented, or you can do how are relationships represented. If you want to, you could do how are gender roles represented, or if you want to challenge yourself, you could do how is deception, truth or lies, how are they represented. But you need to come from it with a perspective. So, for example, if you are doing love, you could say that love is represented as a force that causes the characters to, and then you tell me what it is, behave irrationally. So love is represented as a force that causes characters to behave irrationally. That could be what your entire essay is about, just as an example. So, for instance, you could talk about how love in A Midsummer Night's Dream causes people to act irrationally through the characters of Helena when she accuses everybody of mocking her. Or you could talk about how the love potion affects Lysander and changes his true love into a fake love and causes him to behave irrationally. Then you would find two examples of love causing people to behave irrationally in 10 Things I Hate About You. For example, when Patrick decides to crash the band practice and start singing a song to try to prove his love for Kat. So you are trying to prove what your contention is. And your contention, remember, is your statement of belief. It's essentially your answer to the question. So if my question is, how is love represented in the play and the film? My answer is, love is represented as a force that causes characters to behave irrationally. Or if I wanted to do relationships, I could talk about father-daughter relationships, or I could talk about friendships, or I could talk about romantic relationships. So, for example, I could say relationships are represented as complex and confusing, just as an example. Then I would go about in my essay trying to prove that yes, relationships are complex and confusing, and this is how they are complex and confusing in A Midsummer Night's Dream, and then this is how they're complex and confusing in 10 Things I Hate About You. Same with gender roles. You could look at how are gender roles represented. Well, you could look at patriarchy and how the men are in charge in both texts, or you could talk about how women don't really have much of a voice. You need to pick your perspective and argue it, and that's the point of the task. So when you're actually doing the task, we're writing it in third person. It is formal, it is analytical, and you do have a structure to your paragraphs. Essentially, you'll have an introduction, you'll have two what's called TERL paragraphs, and a conclusion. Now, it's important that you understand that yes, you can compare and contrast, but that is not the main purpose of the task. The main purpose is to analyze how the concept is represented or shown in both texts. So love is shown here. Here's my evidence and examples. Love is shown here. Here is my evidence and examples. Therefore, love is represented as. Okay, so that's essentially what you're doing for your assessment. Okay, and you're looking at 800 to 1,000 words, including your quotes. So the next video is going to go through what is a TERL paragraph, how do I write one, and then how do I analyze.